So, Mayor Baba originally planned to visit Marymount when he was in the US in 1952, which I think some of you may know. But in April of that year, Marymount co-founder and lifetime caretaker Agnes Barron had driven to Mayor Spiritual Center in South Carolina to meet Mayor Baba for the first time and plan his 10-day visit at Marymount. And at that time, Baba asked her, "Are you sure it's not going to be any trouble with my coming to Marymount?" And trouble, Agnes said, "What do you mean, Baba? I've just been waiting all these years for you to come. Everything's been painted and scrubbed." But that visit was canceled because of the automobile accident at Prague, Oklahoma on May 24th, 1952. So it was with great eagerness that Agnes was waiting and preparing for Mayor Baba's visit in 1956. Now, at 4 a.m. on the morning of August 2nd, preparations were made to drive Mayor Baba and about 150 followers from the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, which you can see here on Hollywood Boulevard, which is still there, to Marymount in Ojai, California, which is about 85 miles away. And Mayor Baba and 4 of his men, Mondley, Erich, Dr. Nilu, Adi Keirani, and Meherji rode with Marymount co-founder and lifetime caretaker Agnes Barron in her Woody station wagon, and the others traveled in 2 buses chartered for the trip. So then on Thursday, August 2nd, it was a day we had all been looking forward to, a day when Baba would be free of interviews, when we could all be more closely with him in the beautiful setting of Marymount, which is what Darwin Shaw wrote in his book, As Only God Can Love. He also went on, everyone was in a happy mood for the day's outing. So Mayor Baba told his followers, "This afternoon, you will have a chance to laugh and feel relaxed. Here today, we feel relaxed, happy. I come down to your level so that we can laugh and be free together. But do not forget at the same time that I am the highest of the high." Now, let's see and hear some of the treasured moments of Mayor Baba's time at Marymount. Margaret?
Mayor Baba's visit to Marymount was part of his 1956 World Tour, where he circled the globe in 30 days, flew 30,000 miles, and crossed 5 continents. On that trip, from July 16 to August 19, Mayor Baba visited London, New York, the Maher Spiritual Center, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Marymount, San Francisco, and then Sydney and Melbourne in Australia. During the 3-day stop in Southern California, Mayor Baba went to Marymount. Charmian Deuce Knowles filmed the U.S. portion of Mayor Baba's world trip and the visit to Marymount. The result of Charmian's filming is Mayor Baba in the USA, 1956, produced by Sufism Reorient. Charmian, her husband Duncan, and Hank Midland provided the soundtrack. Recently, Duncan sent Marymount an amusing story about the film. Said Duncan, "I will never forget the time in about 1990 when Charmian, Mary, our daughter, and I drove up to Marymount. Charmian had not been there since visiting with Mayor Baba in 1956. As our car came to a stop, the caretaking couple came out to greet us saying, 'Welcome, come inside. We have film we can show you of Mayor Baba visiting here.' Charmian said, 'Yeah, I know, I took it.' Their astonished reply, 'What?' Thanks to Charmian, we are now going to see almost 7 minutes of Mayor Baba at Marymount, which is part of her much longer film, Mayor Baba in the USA, 1956. Okay, shall we go on and then we'll come back to it?
Yes, we can do that. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we're going to go back to the beginning of his arrival, and I'll pass it over to Bing.
Great. Thanks, Margaret. So after the 2 buses reached Marymount, Mayor Baba called everyone into the Baba room of the guest house. We all went inside and sat wherever we could. all sort of crowded around Baba, but in a comfortable way, remembered Darwin Shaw. Baba sat where everyone could see him. He seemed very relaxed and happy to be among his lovers. He had several people in the group. He asked several people in the group how they liked Meher Mount. One said it has a spiritual atmosphere. Another said it compares to Meherbad Hill in India. A third commented on the lovely fragrance. Phyllis Frederick, who wrote the account of Meher Baba's trip in her publication, The Awakener, said, "It reminds me of the hills of Assisi in Italy, where St. Francis lived." Jean Shaw agreed. It has instant appeal. Meher Baba nodded and added, "This land is very old. I have been here before." He never explained what he meant by that statement. Later on his visit, Meher Baba mysteriously remarked, "I will come again." Each person filed out of the Baba room. As each person filed out of the Baba room, Meher Baba, in a playful mood, pushed out Ben Heckman and Margaret Kraus. A short while later, he appeared on the vine-covered porch with Elizabeth Patterson's coat and red scarf wound around his head like a turban.
Meher Baba Circle of Friends YouTube.
Jean Shaw wrote in her diary, "Meher Baba looked at me and gestured. How do you like it?"
Meher Baba Circle of Friends YouTube.
I exclaimed, "Baba, you look handsome." Elizabeth was happy that Baba wore her coat. Baba told her, "Don't part with this coat." After lunch, Meher Baba again called his lovers inside. He was seated in a large chair, and Phyllis Frederick described him as being in a jolly mood. "In Los Angeles, there was no time for you all to sit near me as you are doing today, for so many people came there, and I was so busy. Therefore, I wanted particularly to have a free day here." Let's go to Meher Baba on tour of Meher Mount with Ellen.
Before Agnes Barron took Meher Baba and the group on a tour of the property, and when all were gathered around him in the Baba room, he said, gesturing to the outdoors, "Now, go out and see the view and try to love Baba through nature. This is all due to my love. This whole creation, this nature, all the beauty you see, all came out of me." As they went outside, the sky began to clear. At 2,500 feet atop Sulphur Mountain, they could see the beautiful views in all directions. Then as they crested the hill overlooking a corner bluff of Meher Mount, a large coast live oak came into view. Agnes turned to Meher Baba and said, "Baba, I've always thought of this as your tree." When they reached the tree, now known as Baba's tree, Meher Baba entered under the tree's canopy and sat alone in the dry bed of leaves, gesturing that no one else should sit. His eyes shone, and he said he was happy. Then he rose swiftly and led the group back up the dusty trail. Everyone followed, panting to keep pace. One man was given the chance to hold Baba's umbrella, but Meher Baba would change direction so swiftly it was hard for him to keep up. As Margaret Poley remembered, "So Baba was walking up this hill, and I tell you, you could not keep up with him. He just floated over the air. He was just going and going, and many people fell behind. And his men disciples even were running. And it's just a walk with him." There were also some moments of seriousness during his visit that Agnes will now share with you.
The visit to Meher Mount was a day of relaxation for Meher Baba. He said, "Do not expect any discourse from me today. Yesterday I told you all that you would play and feel relaxed here." However, at one point, he noted the following: "As you all become more intimate with me, with opportunities to come closer to me, all that is good and all that is bad within you comes out in sparks, as it were. All the impressions of the past, accumulations of past samskaras, of all illusory things, which include both good and bad, come out. My proximity, the intimacy with me, just changes that mass of samskaras, and sometimes you find sparks of good and bad flying out." Another time, Meher Baba mixed seriousness and humor. And for that, turn you back to Bing.
Outside under the trees, a group ate a delicious lunch. And after lunch, he called everyone back into the Baba room. Dana Field had been encouraging Baba to eat grapes, saying, "It's good for your health." "Fruits," Baba exclaimed. "From childhood, I've never liked fruits nor milk. Whenever I have to fast, I will fast on water, but not on milk. When I go on a must tours, sometimes for as long as 3 days, I do not get food I like. So the Mandalay asked me to take some milk or fruits, but I would rather go hungry and just live on water. And today, as soon as I entered this room, I found fruits here. So I ate a whole bunch of grapes. Among other things, plums were here. And now listen." Baba patted his tummy and all heard a rumbling inside and burst out into laughter with him. Tapping on the top of his head, Baba continued teasing. "I bear the whole universe on my head, but this is sort of an additional crucifixion because the food does not agree with me." Then Baba said, "I want all of you to close your eyes for 5 minutes. Do not think of anything. Just think of Baba." Obediently, everyone in the group sat still and closed his or her eyes and did the meditation. After a minute, they heard Baba's stomach rumbling and all burst out into laughter. When Mayor Baba was on his tour of Mayor Mount, he passed the sulfur water swimming pool with its leafy arbor and pointed to the vines and gestured, "Grapes," again. Mayor Baba took a keen interest in the property and surrounding Ojai Valley. I'll pass on to Robert for more.
Earlier, during the drive to Meher Mount, Baba had admired the rich agricultural land. He asked many questions, such as what was being grown, how was the land irrigated, are there orchards? Agnes cracked, Meher Baba was talking as if he were a real estate agent. Later, when she took Meher Baba on a tour of the Meher Mount property, he was very particular to be shown all the boundary lines and fence posts. At the point overlooking the Pacific Ocean near Baba's tree, now called Avatar's Point, Baba asked Agnes if she knew where the property corner was, pointing to Meher Mount's southeast corner. Pointing at the rocky, rugged, and nearly vertical canyon, she said, "I don't know, Baba. It is down in that canyon somewhere." In telling this story, Agnes remembered that Meher Baba looked displeased with her response. Over the years, she often remarked, "I wonder why Baba cared about that corner post." Then, 52 years later, that question was answered. In 2008, a boundary survey was conducted. From that survey, it was discovered that if you followed the boundary line from that rocky corner in the ravine, the existing fence line between Meher Mount and the southern neighbors, Larry and Mai Heckman, was wrong. The fence had been assumed to be the property line, but it was in the wrong place. That meant the Heckmans were encroaching on Mayher Mount property. It took another 5 years and 2 court appearances to settle the property line dispute. In the end, both the Superior Court and then the Appellate Court ruled in Heckman's favor. Before the second ruling, the lawyer for the Heckman estate approached Mayher Mount and the dispute was settled. That was 57 years after Mayher Baba visited. Interestingly, if you Google Mayher Mount Larry Heckman, there are at least 13 articles or information on this lawsuit. When the boundaries were marked in 2008, as might be imagined, the southeast corner where Mayher Baba pointed proved challenging. Wanting to place a marker on that spot, the surveyors climbed into the ravine and one of them started a small landslide. The surveyor down below took shelter as boulders the size of soccer balls and several tons of debris flew over his head. Manager caretaker Ray Johnston, who joined the surveyors on this project, said he was amazed to see the landslide funneling exactly to the point where they were trying to put in the marker. He marveled at the amount of energy that was focused on that one point that Mayher Baba had asked about. At another time during the day, Mayher Baba helped clarify Agnes's feelings. Ellen?
Thank you, Robert. At one point during Baba's day at Mayher Mount, there was an interaction between Agnes and Ivy Deuce, the Murshida of Sufism Reoriented. Agnes was about to leave her guests and go to Mayher Baba when Ivy asked for something. Agnes was in such a hurry to leave that she didn't fulfill Ivy's request, causing Ivy to make some disparaging comment about Agnes. Then fuming, Agnes came to Mayher Baba and said, "Baba, you say you have to love everybody. Well, I don't love everybody. What am I going to do about it?" Mayher Baba looked at her and said, "Agnes, you love everyone. You just don't like everyone." Then in the car, on the way back to Los Angeles from Mayher Mount, Agnes said, "Baba, you know what Ivy said about me. I don't believe it. If it is true, what am I going to do about it?" Mayher Baba slapped her on the shoulder and said, "I like you the way you are. I like your spirit." During his visit, Mayher Baba and Agnes discussed her travel to San Francisco to be with Mayher Baba on the next leg of his trip in the US. And now Sam is going to tell us about that story.
On the following day, August 3rd, Mayher Baba was to continue his around the world trip and go to San Francisco with a group of his followers. The following is the interchange as told by Agnes between her and Mayher Baba about her drive to San Francisco. Baba said, "I'm going to drive up in the station wagon." "Baba," I said. Agnes said, "I am going to drive up in the station wagon. A lot of people have given me books to take, and Mayor G bought a lot of ties and things that he couldn't carry on the plane. So he asked me if I would put them in the station wagon." I said, "Sure." "No," Baba said, "you have to come with me in the plane." I said, "Well, Baba, that's silly. Why shouldn't I drive? It's necessary to help these people. And then when I come back, I have to have transportation." I thought I was being very reasonable, you know. Baba still kept saying no. Finally, he said, "All right, but you have to drive with somebody. You can't drive alone." I said, "Okay." So I dashed around and I found Adi. I said, "Hey, Adi, do you want to drive up to San Francisco with me tonight?" And Adi said, yeah, that's just fine. But he said, wait a minute, be careful how you ask Baba. Then he gave this long roundabout dissertation on how we should go together. Adi said, because if you don't do it that way, he's gonna say no. So we both went into the Baba room and there was Baba. By the time I got to Baba, I had forgotten about Adi's instructions. And I blurted out, Baba, Adi and I are gonna drive to San Francisco. Baba turned to Adi, you traitor, you're leaving me? And Adi just collapsed. Adi got so embarrassed. His face got red and he got very humble. I said, well, I'll try to get somebody else, Baba. So I dashed out and I found Lud Dimful. I said, hey, Lud, do you want to drive to San Francisco with me? He said, yeah, it'll be great fun. I said, Baba, I got somebody. Baba said, Lud, you're in charge of so-and-so and so-and-so in San Francisco, aren't you? And then Lud crumpled, oh yeah, Baba, I forgot. I was determined by that time to find somebody. So I rushed out and I saw Bee Dimful, Lud's wife. Hey, Bee, do you want to drive up to San Francisco with me? Yeah, great, she said. So we go into Baba. Baba said, Bee, are you feeling very well? Well, she said, she was perfectly all right until Baba asked her. Bee said, well, I do have night blindness. Baba said, you can't go. So I thought, I'll just wait. And I went out of the room. Later, they called me back. Baba wants to see you. He had someone there from Los Angeles and a person I wasn't particularly fond of. And Baba said, you're going with him. Quick as a flash, I said to him, do you have a driver's license? Well, I just got one. Have you driven to San Francisco? No. Baba, impossible. If we drive up to San Francisco, he's going to lose the way. Baba had to agree, and he knew that I knew that he knew that he knew. And I dashed out and was looking for somebody else, but I couldn't find anyone, and Baba didn't call me in again, so I just let it go at that. I was still going to drive up to San Francisco alone. At the end of his visit, I drove Mayor Baba back to Hollywood. He was sitting in the seat beside me. Baba kept putting his hand on my head and saying, now promise to drive slowly. I was going, maybe 45 miles an hour. I was going slowly. I didn't say anything, but I thought, Baba says drive slowly. And then when we got along the beach, I went down to 30 or 25. I looked at Baba, looking at the beautiful view. And again, he said, promise me to drive slowly. Baba, I am already going slowly. I can't go any slower. What are you talking about? And he sort of looked at me like as if you're stupid. I didn't realize what he was talking about until much later. He was talking about the trip to San Francisco. When you drive up, don't go over 40 miles an hour. When I got back to Los Angeles, it was late in the evening. Baba went to his room, and I was told Baba wanted to see me. And here was this young man whom I had known. He was engaged, and he came with his fiancée on the trip to Mayermount. I didn't know what had happened, but at Mayermount, Baba had broken the engagement of this young man. He told the young man, your best friend is in love with your fiancée, and you must release her. They want to be married, and they don't want to hurt your feelings. I ask you to release her. So the poor lad, he was broken up, and he was standing by Baba, very crestfallen. So I said, great. And I liked the man, the young fellow. All the way to San Francisco at 40 miles an hour. Imagine that. And Baba had told the young man, stop every hour for a cup of coffee. So we started off on the drive to San Francisco, and then the boy started to talk, and he told me his whole story. That was Baba's way of helping the lad get rid of his sorrow. We'd stop every hour and have coffee. We had a wonderful time. So finally, by the time we got to San Francisco, the young man said, if it weren't for Baba, I'd be brokenhearted. But it's all right. I've released her. But there was an incident earlier in the drive when we were getting close to San Francisco. We were going through a little town. It was midnight and I was driving and the young man was asleep. There were trucks, great big trucks, always at night. Their headlights were shining right down in my rear view mirror. I went off to the side, driving slowly, waiting for the truck driver to pass. And as I crawled along at 10 miles an hour, there was this sound, woo, woo, woo. And the boy woke up and said, "My God, the cops are behind us." I said, "What? I'm crawling." He said, "You'd better stop. It's the police." It hadn't been a truck at all. This very angry policeman drove up alongside me and said, "If you hadn't stopped, I was going to ram your car." I said, "How dare you? You're a police officer, and you said you'll ram my car? I'm going to have you fired. How dare you say that? I'm not speeding. What are you stopping me for?" "Well," he said, "I was asleep in the car when you drove through town, and I was bored. I thought I'd have some fun and chase you a little bit and scare you." I said, "You've got a nerve." I was furious. He pulled out his pad. "Are you writing a ticket?" "Yeah, you wait. I'm going to take this to court." He wrote out a ticket and gave it to me. That was the end of that. We got a hotel in San Francisco and had a night's sleep. Later, when Baba's plane arrived, they said, "Baba wants to see both of you immediately." They were still carrying his suitcases into the hotel. We went into this big room where Baba was standing. He said, "How are you? How was your trip?" I said, "We're all right, Baba, but you played a trick on me. You had me arrested in that town, didn't you? Now I have to pay a fine. You did that." So we joked about it for a little while. Then suddenly Baba got very serious, and he took each of us by the arm, and Adi came along, and we went away over to another corner. He got very solemn. I've never seen him so serious, and even I shut up. He said, "You don't know how hard I had to work to prevent a catastrophe." So either he had the policeman stop us because he saw something happening, or way from the beginning when he said not to drive alone. The way he said it was so solemn, I was really shaken. You see, that's his beauty. Instead of telling you, "You stupid little idiot," or punishing you in some way, he went to all the trouble to prevent something from happening. So those are the things that are so impressive about Baba, his complete understanding and compassion. Now, returning to the day before the San Francisco trip, when Meher Baba was at Meher Mount. Ron?
When Meher Baba arrived at Meher Mount on August 2nd, he turned to Agnes Barron and said, "I love Meher Mount very much and feel happy here." Later in the day, he told his followers, "You are so lucky to be with me so closely, because in India, those who are ready to give their lives for me have to file past me to see me, and the crowds are so immense, they have time only for a glance or a touch from me before someone pushes them from behind. You do not realize how very fortunate you are when I embrace you all," he said. At Meher Baba's places of pilgrimage and in our lives, we have the good fortune to feel Meher Baba's embrace. The essence of Meher Baba's physical presence will always be at Meher Mount. He left an invisible fountain of spiritual energy. Whenever I visit a place and stay there, however short a time, its spiritual atmosphere becomes greatly elevated, Meher Baba said. So you can now unmute yourselves to ask questions or make any comments. Thank you so much.
The film?
Or yeah, is the film ready to go?
Not yet, but in a minute it will.
Okay. So in the meantime, does anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments, or those who have visited Meher Mount who maybe learned something new?
Well, first of all, a big thank you to Margaret for putting this program together, and a lot of time spent in creating the notes for each of the readers. Anyway, much thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome.
And I think that this description of Baba's trip is so filled with symbolism and meaning in so many ways, and how he has infused himself in the various places like Avatar's Abode and Meher Mount and the center, and now the Heartland Center in Prague. Very special gifts.
Well, thank you, Bing. And it looks like you might be at Mayher Mount right now. Although
In spirit
you
always.
have the view that people can see to the northeast from Mayher Mount, the Topa Topa Bluffs. It's very nice.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
Sam, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay, Sam, can
Yes,
you talk
Jim.
a little bit about which Mondley were at Marymount when Baba was on his way? Was it 52 and he had the accident in Oklahoma? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, in May 1952, when Meher Baba, the collision happened on the 24th of May. Baba had sent 5 of the Mandali ahead to Meher Mount to prepare for a 10-day visit there. Agnes had a house actually moved onto the property. It was an old Army carpentry shed, and they kind of remodeled it and made it into a 2-bedroom house. And the Mandali were going to be living there. And the Mandali who arrived at Meher Mount the day before the collision happened were Dr. William Donkin, Adi K. Irani, Meherji Karkaria, Dr. Nilu, and Gustaji. So 5 of the Mandali showed up at Meher Mount. As soon as they got word, of course, that the accident had happened, they drove back, except for William Donkin, because Agnes, Baba wanted him to come immediately. So Agnes had to arrange to get an airline ticket, which was very difficult because there was a strike going on at the time. And she didn't have a phone, so she kept having to drive down the mountain, a couple of miles to a friend who had a phone, and it took her quite a few drives and phone calls before she was able to get. And she was telling the person at the other end of the line that there was this very important VIP who had been in an accident. Serious accident, and needed his doctor, and that they had to find a ticket. And they were saying, well, there are no flights, there are no tickets. But finally she was able to get Donkin a flight back to Oklahoma to care for Baba.
Okay, so I have the film cue now.
Baba visits a mountaintop called Meher Mount, which sits above the Ojai Valley. Bags had been hung from the orange trees to keep the deer away. They weren't ornaments. The young lady had just become engaged, and so everyone was busy kissing her, but this particular young man was going through the I hate girls stage. The swing had broken, and they were climbing up there to repair it. At Mayor Mount in Ojai, Baba said, "Now go out and see the view and try to love Baba through nature. This is all due to my love. This whole creation, this nature, all the beauty you see, all came out of me." Agnes Barron of Mayor Mount saying goodbye. And so we went back to Los Angeles by bus.
Any questions or additional comments?
That
And,
footage is phenomenal.
Zavala, go ahead.
Unmute.
Thank you so much for that. It was just so incredibly special.
You're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. Anyone else?
I have a question. It looks like in the film, there are a couple other guys with movie cameras. Who are they and where's the film?
That's the $64,000 question. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anyone still around who was there that day. And we don't know who they are, Jim. I remember reaching out to some people, and it wasn't too long ago. So unfortunately, we didn't think to ask back in the day when.
And there are still mysteries. I think that's one of them. You know, it's where's Baba's book after all? Maybe you know. But where are the hidden films of Mayor Mount?
The one person that was taking photographs or film of Baba was Lowell Shaw,
Ah,
Darwin Shaw's son. I don't know if his his niece has any films from that time, but
interesting.
her name is Sherry Keller. You might
Oh,
you might check and see because he was taking film that whole time there.
good to know.
Yes,
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah,
good to know.
the stills you saw, the single shots, Meher Nazar Publications has we got those from them and they were part of the Darwin Shaw collection. But I don't know about the film, so we'll check that out.
Okay, Bing has a comment or has his hand up. Go ahead, Bing.
Yeah, thanks. Just some impressions that you have been very special for me anyway over a number of years. Baba was on his way to Marymount in 1952, so he was looking to get there. It didn't happen. It was disrupted. There's something about that to me is part of the story. And then he did get there. And what was it about his being there? It was a relaxed day in a whirlwind tour around the world. It was an intimate time. It was very special in that way. He was connecting deeply with nature. He'd been there before. It was a family connection. It was fun. There was humor. All of those things are a legacy that Bob has infused into the place, which is more than just a place. Anyway, it's I like all of that.
Thank you, Bing. Diana, Terry, I see that you have your hand raised, but before that, we have questions, Margaret or Sam. We have a question from Dean. What is the name of the entire film and how can you watch it? Where can you watch it?
The entire film is called Meher Baba in the USA 1956. It's on Vimeo and anyone can access it. So just Google Meher Baba 1956 USA, some combination of those words. I'll put the URL in the chat.
And the other question is related also to the film. It's from Nancy Forgall. It's who was filming the footage and was it edited?
Charmian Deuce-Knowles. Charmian was the daughter of Ivy Deuce, who was Murshida of Sufism Reoriented. You didn't see Charmian in the film. And anyway, Charmian traveled with Meher Baba throughout the US filming the entire trip.
Okay, so Diane and Terry, go ahead.
Thank you so much. That was really incredible to go back to Marymount. I did, though, wonder the music. It felt very disconnect, like we were watching an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Did the filmmakers create the music or was that done post-production?
The filmmakers did it. Hank Midland, who was the composer of the American Artie, who wrote the American Artie, is credited as providing some of the soundtrack.
Okay.
So I posted the URL in the chat. I don't know how to get it out, but it's Meher Baba in the USA 1956.
Tim, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Tim Hurley. So I wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Bing was saying. I think it's significant that Baba was trying to come to Southern California to Marymount in 1952 when he got into the accident. And he didn't get there because of the accident. And then 4 years later, even suffering from that accident, he came to Southern California. So for many of us here in Southern California, it's a really wonderful thing that Baba came here and blessed Marymount with his presence in 1956. And he did that in spite of being thwarted with the accident in Oklahoma. So it shows how much Baba cared about us here in Southern California that he made the trouble to come here, even after being hurt in 1952.
It's also, he drew the line across the country, Myrtle Beach, Prague, Oklahoma, Southern California. So he spanned the continent.
Exactly. That's also significant. I agree, Margaret.
I'll add to that that in the 1930s, he stopped off in Hawaii. And that was, if you've ever been to Hawaii, there's a banyan tree at the hotel where he stayed at. And you can just picture that was there when he was there. Anyway, it's just his presence is straight across, even out over the ocean.
And, you know, we're so lucky that Baba did visit Maher Mount because he left his divine free impressions there for us to imbibe.
We have a couple more minutes if there are any more comments or questions. Go ahead, Robert. Robert.
Yeah, I
Turnage.
was wondering, yes, hello. I was wondering if Sam and Margaret would like to say something about the anniversary celebration that is happening at Maher Mount this Saturday.
Yes, Margaret.
Sure. So today, the 2nd, is the exact 65th anniversary of Mayor Baba's visit. But usually it's on the first Saturday of the month, in the month of August that we celebrate. So it's this Saturday, August 7th at Mayor Mount. And this year we're not only celebrating the 65th anniversary of Mayor Baba's visit, but also the 75th anniversary of the founding of Mayor Mount. Mayor Mount was actually founded 10 years prior to Mayor Baba's eventual visit. The escrow closed July 31st, 1946. Anyway, so in the morning at 10:30 Pacific Coast time, and this will be Zoom, Joan Harlan, and you saw her dad, she's the daughter of Blood and B. Dimple, will share her stories of being growing up with Mayor Baba, and she met him several times. Then at 1:30, Wayne Myers has written a dramatic reading that is about Agnes meeting Jean Adriel, them finding the property, her meeting of Mayor Baba. And it's a lovely story. And Ron will be the narrator, and Aaron Somerville will be the voice of Agnes. At 2, Greg Harlan, who is Joan's husband, spent 3 months in India just after Mayor Baba dropped his body, and he has many stories to share about his time there. So it's a full-packed day, and each one of those presentations will be Zoomed, and each one has a different link. So if you go to Mayor Mount's website, you can get all the links and log in. Hope you can come. It should be fun.
We have one more question from Judy Robertson. Go ahead. You have to unmute, sorry.
Sorry about that. First of all, thank you so much, all of you that participated in putting this wonderful program together. I think it's important to start setting a precedent of remembering Mayor Baba on these anniversaries. Another 10 years, 20 years down the road, a lot of us might not be here. So anyway, thank you for that. And just a query of wondering about the possible other films that are out there. Have you had a chance to check with Sufism Reoriented if any of their members besides Charmian might have been the folks with cameras in their hands?
You know, I kind of think no, but you know what? I haven't double checked, so it's a good idea. I will.
Yeah, we can ask them.
Yeah, and maybe even the Berkeley Center, yeah, check with the Talbots you know, because folks would have come down from the Bay Area, I would imagine, you know, for Baba, for that as well.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Marta Flores, go ahead.
Yes, Margaret, just for clarity, so can we Zoom the day of the event?
Yes.
And is it going to, so it won't be on YouTube later? It'll just be Zoomed on the day?
It'll be Zoomed on the day. We're also filming it, but it takes some time to prep the film and load it to YouTube. But the goal is then to also have it for posterity on YouTube.
Yeah, that's why I was curious. So we can Zoom in on the day and be there with you.
Yep,
Oh.
it's a double scoop of ice cream.
Wonderful. So then how are you going to send out that link to Zoom to Marymount? Is it on the Marymount website?
It is, and I will send out tomorrow and then later in the week.
Oh, great.
The Zoom link.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is being recorded as well and will also be made available, right?
Yes. All right.
Let's see, we have quite a spread of people from around the world here, including Marabot, I see.
Yes. Hello, Indra and Hardeep. They were anniversary guests. Indira and Hardeep Hansbal were in an anniversary guests a few years ago. We had a lovely time. It's always wonderful to bring people to Marymount, and all of us remember Mayor Baba.
Well, I think this brings us to the end of our program. Margaret or Sam, do you want to say the closing for us, please?
Sure. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Thanks, Sam and Margaret.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Ron. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
you
so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Eric.
That was really special.
Yeah, you're welcome.